Well, last week, several earthquakes struck off Oregon's coast, according to the U.S. Geological Survey.
Breaking overnight, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake hit off the coast of Oregon.
But really interesting stuff, especially when you get a huge swarm here just off our coastline. It's a little unnerving, isn't it?
There have been around 60 earthquakes off the coast of Oregon starting yesterday and then continuing throughout today. The biggest, a magnitude 5.8.
It's got a lot of us wondering what is going on, so we'll show you where it's happening. This is along the Blanco Fault Zone, about 400 miles west of Bandon. Two of the quakes registered above a 5 magnitude.
Elizabeth, certainly the question on everyone's minds tonight, especially when you hear just how many there have been and how big some of those magnitudes are. But the short answer is no. This is not a cause for concern. The professor I talked to explained the reason for that is because it's so far off the coast, but to have so many is unusual.
They have one 5.8, that's big.
The Cascadia subduction zone's about here. This is the Blanco fracture zone out here.
Yesterday, the same area recorded about 30 earthquakes. Now, it's a surprising amount of activity to see, but local experts tell us no cause for concern. These earthquakes happened along the Blanco fault zone, not the Cascadia subduction zone, where we might have a big one originate, so everyone breathe a sigh of relief. That's not, hopefully, an indicator of things to come.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, we're still waiting for the big one.
What happened?
You know, ever since I've been working here, I have heard that it's imminent. It could happen any time.
Any day now, geologically speaking.
Of course, we're overdue for a 9.0 Cascadia subduction zone earthquake.
We don't want to talk about that.
Well, you need to.
Yeah.
Keeping our eye on the environment, geologists are closely watching Oregon's South Sister volcano for activity. South Sister is not too far from Bend. Experts noticed a subtle increase in the rate of uplift of the ground on Monday. This was detected about 3 miles west of the volcano. Geologists tell us that the uplift is caused by small pulses of magma building up roughly 4 miles below the ground surface.
Now, it's interesting because the last major volcanic eruption in Oregon was 2,000 years ago. It was right there in that area.
While they say this could eventually lead to a volcanic eruption, there would likely be more vigorous earthquakes leading up to it.
These are the Three Sisters, a complex of volcanoes in central Oregon, east of Eugene, and the sisters have a tale to tell. In this color image, the land under the mountains is swelling up, even if just a little.
It's been a very gradual onset.
Also, this isn't the first time the ground has swelled. These GPS signals show a portion of that uplift that's been ratcheting upward for some 25 years. Earl Tobin oversees the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network at the University of Washington. Rising ground is one sign that a volcano is growing restless. Another is earthquakes, a lot of small quakes, and that is not happening. But the sisters comprise part of a long chain of volcanoes in the northwest, and as we fly north, one has to wonder if they're all connected down below, including the biggest one, Mount Rainier.
The individual volcanoes are all part of the Cascades chain, but they are individual volcanoes. They have separate sort of plumbing systems, if you will, of potential magma and such things. So something happening down there at Sisters in Oregon does not mean Mount Rainier is going to change its activity. They're unconnected at that level.
From June of 2020 to August of last year, this area had seen some small uplift taking place. They also started noticing small, shallow earthquakes.
In October and December and January, this past January, we had some really, really tiny earthquakes in the area. In fact, they were so tiny that they largely registered barely on one of the seismometers.
It's that kind of earthquake, experts say, we here in the Pacific Northwest could one day experience as well when the Cascadia subduction zone, a 600-mile-long fault off our shore, ruptures. Experts say it's what happened some 321 years ago, and now scientists here in Oregon have a bit more proof of that.
We're just establishing more physical evidence of the earthquake and tsunami in 1700.
Bob Ziak is a research oceanographer with NOAA. He and a team of researchers analyzed core samples of old-growth trees about a mile inland of Newport. They discovered something big had happened to those trees back in 1700.
What we do is we measure the growth rings of the tree, and it showed that the growth was really subdued or non-existent during that year.
The salt water from a massive tsunami, the result of a magnitude 9 earthquake, halted the tree's growth. The researchers now believe the water had traveled more than a mile onshore.
This evidence in the tree rings is one of the first in Oregon that's been documented associated with the 1700 earthquake. And it's useful just because it shows how far inland the tsunami can have an impact.
This new and updated tsunami model shows the area could have been inundated by up to 10 meters of water in the 1700 tsunami event.